Altruwest.com, back once again. Appreciate y'all for tapping in with your boy. This is the Altruwest Music Production Podcast. And we do this podcast every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time. I appreciate y'all for hanging out with us. We're going to chop it up today. Today we're talking about USB mixers. And we're really going to be talking some real talk about USB mixers. And should you have a USB mixer? Should you get a USB mixer for your hardware studio or your music production studio? We're going to be talking about that today. And I also want to know, let me know in the chat, let me know in the comments, what is your favorite USB mixer today? And it don't have to be a USB mixer. What is your favorite analog or USB mixer? And what do you use it for? Let me know in the comments, and also let me know in the chat, and also let me know in the comments if you're watching this on a VOD. So appreciate y'all. This will be a good conversation, man. We're gonna get started in just a few. If you haven't already done so, if you're watching this, make sure you hit the like button. It helps the algorithm, it helps me to be seen, and helps the message to be heard more by others that may need this information as well. So I appreciate you supporting the channel by hitting the like button. Before we get started, I will definitely be acknowledging my folks that are pulling up already. We already got true sound creators and members in the house, man. So I appreciate all the members that have that came through, and all the folks that are non-members as well. I appreciate y'all for coming through, man. So we gonna acknowledge y'all. And if you aren't already subscribed to this channel, you should subscribe to this channel, because we do this weekly podcast. We talk a lot of music production talk. We talk about gear, obviously, but we also talk about other things related to the music producer community. So make sure that you're locked in. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I do not think you'll regret it. And if you're looking to further support the channel, I would recommend that you become a member. Our True Sound Creators are, that is the community of members that includes True Sound Creator, True Sound Creator Plus, and Studio Guest Pass 4K membership. And my members get access to a lot of members perks, including hundreds of hours now of content and interviews from people like EA Ski, interviews from people like Snipe Young and Divided Souls, and discounts from some of our partner brands such as MSX Sounds and the Produce Market by Snipe Young. And our Studio Guest Pass 4K members also get 4K footage of live studio sessions. This means 4K is going to be the highest quality I could provide you right now. You get 4 different angles of the studio as I produce music, so you can see everything that's going on and all the different angles and whatnot. So Studio Guest Pass 4K is where I'm going to be putting a lot more beat making content and production content if you're looking for more of that. So I recommend you become a member. If you're interested, make sure that you check the chat. Upbeat Media, my moderator, is going to put a link in the description, or a link in the chat actually, where you can sign up to be a member. And I also have a link in the video description if you're interested in becoming a member. Architect, appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much, fam. I'm gonna read what Architect says. Just learning about your channel, learned a lot of details about vintage MPCs and samplers from just a couple videos, quality content experience. Man, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. More to come. I'm actually dropping a new video on Saturday, so be on the lookout for that. That's gonna be a good one. It's about vintage samplers again, but another one that we don't see covered a lot. I got a video discussing the W30 coming up. So I'm gonna drop it tomorrow for the members. So members first, and then Saturday we'll be dropping for the rest of the community. So that'll be a good one. I'm taking you along my journey, and as I learn stuff, I like to share it with you guys. So this will be a good one. It will be insightful. It will provide you with quite a bit of details on a vintage sampler that I would say is not covered by a lot of people today. So I'm excited about that one. Be on the lookout for that. True Sound Creators and True Sound Creator Plus and Studio Guest Pass 4K. Be on the lookout. That's coming tomorrow, y'all. Okay. Before we get started, like I said, I will acknowledge the chat. Shout out to everybody, all my members. Shout out to my moderator, Upbeat Media, who will be directing traffic. As always, make sure that you follow the directions of the moderation here. Keep it cool. I know the thumbnail may have triggered some people. It's on purpose. But I'm here for conversation. I'm here to provide information. I am not here to have arguments and disputes with people. A welcome conversation. I don't tolerate disrespect. Upbeat Media doesn't tolerate disrespect either. So please keep it cool, keep it respectful. We have a good community here. Everybody, I believe everybody that watches this channel on a regular basis is very level-headed. They're very intelligent. They're very insightful. My community is very special as far as the music producer communities are concerned. And I've paid attention. I know for sure you guys are different. You guys communicate and articulate yourselves in ways that other communities don't. And you guys help each other in ways that I haven't seen other communities. So I appreciate y'all that are in the community, and I want to maintain that level of community and fellowship amongst each other. So let's keep it cool. But shout out to Upbeat Media. Upbeat Media will be providing links so that if I say anything that you may be wondering, how do I get access to that, or where do I do this at? Upbeat Media in the chat is going to direct the traffic. So appreciate y'all. Yeah, and also we of course, after we do this this episode of the podcast, please believe that we will be making our way over to Twitch for the after show. So for all you cats out there, I know it's a lot of YouTube loyalists. I know. You guys are YouTube loyalists. I've been on YouTube for 18 years. I get it, but we can really get it cracking over at Twitch as well. If you don't have Twitch download it on your phone. It's free. Go download it. We get it cracking, and it's a lot different over there as well, what we're doing. So make sure that you're ready for the after show. The after show starts at 6 p.m. Central Time. So it will be after this podcast. All right. So make sure that you got the Twitch app, and make sure you head over there after this show is over. All right. Acknowledgements, and then we'll get started. I know I'm ramping up, but I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate y'all hanging in there and hanging out with your boy. This is always a good time. Code Heat Studios, one of my true sound creators. What's good with you, fam? Gird Up Nation Ministries. Okay, you done changed your name, I think. I appreciate you though, fam. Salute, one of my true sound creators. Room at the Top Studio, another true sound creator. I appreciate you. Bless up, fam. Old Wood, what's good with you, fam? Appreciate you. Let's see here. We got a couple. We already got people responding to the prompt, which is amazing. Let's see. Room at the Top says, I know this one is going to hurt as I use a USB mixer as my main mixer in my main studio. It's all good, man. We're gonna talk about it. This is not to offend. This is just to inform and provide some context, man. That's all. Let's see. You use a Soundcraft Signature 22 MTK. Yes, sir. JR1525. Salute, fam. Appreciate you. Michael R. Frazier P. Frey. Okay, you said you use a Personas digital mixer. That's what's up. Room at the Top Studios. I appreciate the super chat, fam. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you. Let's see here. Let me get to a couple more. Oh, I see. Code Heat Studios said EA Ski was telling us about a track you made. Told us to ask you about it. Man, it's a couple. I sent them a couple joints. If you I sent them an SP1200 joint. If you're already a true sound creator, it's the beat that I did in the tracking session on the SP1200. So if you ain't heard that one, go check that out. True Sound Creators. It's that track. the one that I'm working on, the SP1200 in the membership. So, and then W31, I'll let y'all hear that on True Sound Creators get to hear it tomorrow, and then on Saturday, the rest of y'all will hear that. That's part of the video as well. We talking about that. So, man, I appreciate y'all, man. I won't be able to get to everybody here. I'll salute a few other folks here though. William Illington, what's good, fam? Salute another True Sound creator. Let's see. Josh Soul says, crazy, it's been 18 years. Been rocking with my boy since he had weight on him. That's what's up, fam. We gonna take some looks back as well, man. So yeah, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the support. Let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. Okay, so we are talking multi-track. Well, we're actually talking about USB mixers and analog mixers today. That's the idea. The idea is we're gonna explore really multi-track USB mixers and kind of compare that to the audio interface domain. The question is, which one should you get? Should you get a multi-track USB mixer or an audio interface? And I think this choice, or this largely depends on your circumstances and also your use cases. And we're going to explore that. IO, your ins and outs, that's always the biggest bottleneck in a music studio that has hardware equipment. It is always like the main thing. One of the most straightforward ways to address that issue and to provide yourself with more of a hands-on approach to dealing with the IO bottleneck is to get a mixer. That's the easiest and most accessible way. And that's probably the way most of us started off with addressing IO issues in a music studio, especially those of us of a certain age. Some of the old heads in here probably had a mixer before you ever thought about an audio interface. Audio interfaces are great and they have their place, but I'm sure some of you guys that were making music back before that was widely available, the mixer, that was the solution. You purchase a mixer that gives you enough channels to do what you need to do. That's the reality of it. And a lot of us have done that. A lot of us continue to do that. It is a very functional way of managing all your IO needs, all your inputs for your keyboards and your drum machines and your microphones and guitars and anything else you need to track out, right? A mixer can handle that if you get the one with the right amount of channels for your setup. In recent years, mixers have become more functional. They are including multi-track USB functionality now, for example. A lot of them include built-in effects and more flexible routing. They are very capable now, and some of them rival the functionality of some of the mid-tier audio interfaces of today. But the question is a USB multi-track mixer the right choice for your studio? Now, I'm gonna give you a little bit of we're gonna go back in time a little bit. I'm gonna give you just a little bit of an overview of where I've been and some of the things that I've experienced, just so you understand where I'm coming from with this, because you gotta know where I'm coming from. Okay, you gotta know where I'm coming from. Shout out to Randy Savage. If you don't know where I'm coming from, I'm gonna show you where I'm coming from. I've had a number of mixers over the years, and mixers kind of like I've had mixers since the beginning of my music production journey. I've always had mixers. I've had a number of analog mixers, and I've had multi-track USB mixers in an effort to really achieve a good workflow. And these mixers over the years, they serve different purposes for me. They're not always just about tracking out my hardware. In some cases, it was about that, but I've had other use cases, and I'm going to talk about that a bit as we go back. So, the mixer in my setup today doesn't serve the same purpose that a mixer would have served, say, 15 years ago for me. So I'll give you an example of a setup that I had 15 years ago. So this is a good example of a setup that I had 15 years ago. Okay, in this setup, I had quite a bit of hardware by now. This was I want to say what, 2008 probably. Yeah, 2009. Okay, 2009. So, you see an MPC 2500, you see a Kurzweil keyboard here, you see a Novation synth, I got some EMU rack here, I got the SC1, I've got a 003, but then in the back corner here, you see a mixer. So I had a mixer then. And I was primarily using that mixer for monitor management back then. This was this is when I had the Mackie VLZ. It was this guy here. So this was the 1202, but I was primarily using it for monitor management at that time. It allowed me to just be able to monitor or basically have a better tactile control over monitor management at that time. So this was one iteration of a setup. So monitor management is a potential reason that one may buy a mixer instead of buying like a formal monitor controller. One may have a monitor management use case for it because you can assign inputs, or you can put all your different sources on different channels here, and then you can kind of create a monitor management depending on which channel you want sent to the main monitors. You can do that, and there's also on a lot of these mixers a control out as well. So you may say, okay, in this case, I want the main monitors to go out here, and then if you had a system that had a control room out, then you may say the control room out gets another SIN, which would be for like your B monitors or something like that. So that was one iteration of a setup that I had. Another setup that I had was more so around hands-on sound design and sound shaping. So we'll jump over to that. This setup here was when I was called it a coloration station at that time. I had I had a Soundcraft mixer, and you see the Zulu there, you see compressors, Patch Bay S3000. This was another iteration. This was more about sound design and coloration. So this was also patched into like pedals and other things. And I was using the mixer, and I had it routed to some of my pedals for effects processing, and of course the Zulu and whatnot. So this was more of a sound design setup at that time. So that could be another reason that you would get a mixer in general, is to have hands-on sound design and sound shaping capabilities. Another iteration, we'll go back, this setup here. At this time, when I make this this video, again, you see MPC 2500, SE1, Motif ES, and then underneath the, or right behind my Novation keyboard, you see the mixer back there. And again, that was that Mackie VLZ. At that moment in time, I no longer had the 003. So I was using the Mackie to consolidate all the signals from all my different hardware to send to a inbox. I had it all consolidated going to an inbox. Yeah. Fun times there, but that was a transitional period. I didn't have a large enough audio interface. Everything was going to the inbox at that time. So in order for me to consolidate all the signals, you're talking about, 4 signals potentially out of the MPC, and then another mono signal from the SE1, and then another stereo pair from the motif, all going to this Mackie mixer, and then out of the Mackie mixer into a inbox. So consolidation, that's another potential reason that one may get a mixer, is because you may have a limit on how many channels you can record simultaneously, or your audio interface may just be a smaller audio interface, and you want to be able to monitor all your sound at the same time. The mixer solves that for you. The mixer allows you to be able to monitor everything, but then when you start tracking out, you may have to do one thing at a time. So that's another iteration and use case for mixers in my setup. Another one that I'll show you is this one right here. This again, this is that Soundcraft mixer I was talking about. That Soundcraft mixer in this iteration was about more so content creation and live streaming. That was the main reason I bought it. This is a USB mixer. This is the Signature 10. So the Signature 10 allowed me to go USB out, and I could connect it to an iPad or an iPhone, or also there were times where I would use it directly connected to my computer so that I can send a separate signal just to streams, or when I was recording content. Even when I would do Instagram content or whatnot, I would connect my phone to this USB mixer via the camera kit adapter. All the sound would play through that, and it was a pretty decent setup. But this one was about sound or content creation at that point. It wasn't really about monitor management. It wasn't about sound design. It wasn't about consolidation, because at this period of time, I was already using the Apollo. So this was more of a way for me to get a clean signal to my phone when I wanted to do content creation. There are other use cases, but those are some of the use cases that I found in my studio. Realistically, a mixer gives you tactile audio routing and busing. You can easily bus things, and you can easily push audio in different directions just by having some cables and connecting them directly to the hardware and to the signal path that you want. Joe Fire, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you for the super chat, and welcome to Texas. Another reason that you may mess with a mixer may be for really mixing in the end, right? Recording and mixing. Some of you guys actually want to record and also mix down your records using a mixer, which is a fair use case. It's called a mixer for a reason. But those are some of the use cases that I know I haven't covered all the use cases, but those are some of the big ones that I found most useful. And just going down, going back in time again, we'll talk about some of the mixers that I had and some of the issues with them, right? So this is a Yamaha MG series mixer. This is the MG4 or MG12-4. And I had this around, I want to say 2006, 2007. This was dark days. This was part of the M Audio 1814 setup that I had. But I remember this mixer, and I remember this mixer was consolidating things for me. But at the same time, I also remember that this mixer didn't necessarily sound that great. You know, one of the challenges with mixers, analog and digital mixers that are on the lower end side is, you know, preamps are decent quality, but they're not necessarily that upper level, that higher tier, that dare I say pro level of preamps. It is a very entry level device here. And same thing with the EQs. It has EQs, but EQs, once again, on a mixer like this, won't be amazing. And that's just the reality of it. At this price point, they're not going to be amazing. But I had this for some time, and then we moved on because the quality I was getting out of it wasn't up to the standard that I wanted for my music because of, like I said, the preamp quality and the EQ quality. And this was an analog one. We can, you can look at this one. This is an analog one. This is not a USB mixer. So I was just feeding this directly to my M audio. And of course, you could say the M audio was the weak link. I think the combination was just not good. Just not a good combination, ultimately. We talked about the Mackie VLZ. This is another one I had. Again, another analog one. And this one was better than the Yamaha, but not perfect by any means. And I used this for maybe 2 years, and we moved on from this and got a better setup. But same issues. Preamps are mediocre on this. EQ's mediocre. But, if you really just need something to allow you to route signal and whatnot, you have your main out here, and then you look at the back here, you got some inserts and you got an alt out, and this could be useful. Like, this setup is useful, especially in the case of the monitor management. That's kind of how I was using it. So you have your alt output here, you have your control output, and then our control room, and then you have your main. And that could be enough for some people to get some proper monitor management out of it. I don't recommend this type of thing for monitor management today, but we'll get into that later on in this presentation. But this is definitely one I had, and like I said, I got rid of it because overall quality for recording purposes wasn't great, and also for monitor management, I think there is something to be said about these analog mixers and the color that they impart on a sound. I would say that if you are trying to leverage something for monitor management, you may not benefit from the color that's coming from a mixer if you're going to use it for that use case. Later on, I started to use USB mixers for content creation. This is one of the ones that I got early on. You can look at some of my live streams from the 2017, 18 era. I was using this for the live stream. So my lav mic would go in here, and the signal from my audio interface and my iPad would go into this, and this is what the stream would get. And it was good for the sense of having something tactile to use while I was live streaming. But I can still say, in retrospect, very similar issues, sound quality wise. This doesn't have great preamps. The preamps get quite noisy, especially when you start having to use it in high gain scenarios. And like the microphone that I'm on right now, this one and the SM57 and the SM7B require about 50 decibels of gain to really give you the signal that you need. And a mixer like this is going to get super noisy and just not pleasant sounding when you get into high gain. So because of that, it wasn't an ideal system for live streaming. At best, the line signals coming from my computer could be heard well. So if I wanted to play some music, you can hear that. But otherwise, I opted out of using this after listening to some of the recordings and the streams and saying, this is just not as good as I would want. So then I later got this guy. I got this guy in, I want to say 2023. And I used this one. This was a different concept. And I had this one in my setup until maybe a couple months ago, actually. It was consolidating the keyboards that are behind me because the keyboards are on the other side of the room and my audio interfaces are in front of me. So I needed something that allowed me to consolidate the signals behind me and send them to my audio interface. So I was using this one, the Onyx 12 by Mackie. And this one is a pretty decent one. I would say the preamps are decent sounding. This one does have Bluetooth capabilities. It is a USB multi-track mixer, so you can send multi-track out of this. It also has recording on board, so you can record on board with this. It has built-in effects that I would say are pretty decent as well. Um, so this was not a bad mixer, and they really made this mixer also with content creation in mind. So it has Bluetooth capability. You can pair it with a phone or another Bluetooth device, but just the USB out and the capabilities of it make it a pretty solid setup. But what I can say, even this particular mixer had quite a bit of noise on the preamps. The preamps weren't perfect. The preamps were decent, but they weren't at the level that I would want. And what I ended up doing half the time was when I would use this mixer, I had to mute all of the other channels. So basically, because I was muting all of the other channels on the mixer and basically only listening to one channel at a time, it effectively had not as much use in the end because I was using, I was pretty much using it at like one channel at a time. So I have since discontinued using this device as part of the consolidation. And some of you guys know, I've been working with Franklin Audio. They sent over the SS6. The SS6 is now handling the consolidation of all those channels. And I plan on doing a final piece of content around the SS6. My True Sound creators have already seen about 3 videos so far about the SS6 and the way that we're using it in the studio, and it is a game changer. It is way better sounding. I don't get the noise and hiss and all that stuff that you would have from a mixer, and it consolidated the 6 sets of stereo channels that I'm managing back there. So I no longer have a mixer for this. I am now using the Franklin SS6. Now I've been using that for a couple months now, and I've done quite a bit of session. It is a amazing device that replaced the need for such a mixer here. But those are some of the mixers that I've used over time. Do you need a mixer is the question. Do you need a mixer? I would say that mixers can be a very easy approach and solution to solving the IO topic, but it's not necessarily the ideal one because the quality of preamps and EQs and just the clarity in the signal path may not be ideal for what you're doing. And I just want to be very clear with you. If you have a $4,000 drum machine and then another $3,000 keyboard and then another couple $1,000 sampler, and you say, I'm just going to put all of that into like a $200 mixer, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. I'm sorry. You do not want to degrade your sound quality by sending it into an inferior mixer to consolidate. And I had a bit too much high quality gear going into something that's about $600 basically. And it just didn't make sense as far as like what I'm getting out of it, because it's one thing to have a high quality mixer, a high quality console. And I think there's a big difference between using a DI and a mixer. When we start talking about mixer, you're paying for preamps, EQs, effects, and IO. As soon as we throw in this concept of preamps and EQs, there is no getting out of the fact that there's going to be compromises made if you buy something lower end. That's just the reality of it. So when considering a mixer, you need to be really clear about the use case. Some people want to have a mixer to process sounds. Some people want to have a mixer to handle their multi-track recording. Some people use mixers for other purposes, such as content creation. And as I mentioned, several of the mixers that I had were very much used for content creation. And I just want to let you know, I currently use a mixer in my setup as well. I'm still using a mixer today, and I'll show you. I am using a mixer here. This guy right here is my mixer. This is the mixer I'm using today. This is the Rodecaster Pro, this guy in front of me, right? And the reason I use the Rodecaster Pro is because, number one, it is tactile. So if I want to be able to play sounds or anything like that, I can mute sounds quickly in my studio. If I want to be able to play music, for example, I can play music very quickly off the soundboard here. Like, here's an example. Right? So it's a soundboard, it's a mixer. If I need to play sound effects, of course, I'll play my favorite sound here. Right? If I need to do that, that's part of the mixer, and I have control over the mix level and volume there. Also, this particular mixer has controls that the other mixers that I mentioned didn't have. One of the bigger controls that are important for me is the processing, like the sound processing. So for example, the Rodecaster has a suite of what's called the affix processing, and that allows me to do things such as high pass filter, de-esser, compression. I get other things like, let's see, what's the other one here? EQ, oral exciter. There's, of course, panning, but the big one, the very big one, is the noise gate. The noise gate is huge. And I'll give you an example. I'll take the noise gate off now. Can you hear that? Now, it's not too loud right now, but sometimes the air conditioner comes on, and you would hear that. But if I wanted a very quiet signal now, I put that noise gate on. And that's something that a lot of the other mixers didn't have. And if I wanted a noise gate, I would have to have purchased a separate noise gate or use software or something like that. There are different tools on the software side that you can apply a noise gate on, but this is very tactile and very easy for me to control and get a consistent level on, because essentially all the different signals in the studio that are coming through may need their own individual noise gate. So the software would only handle the consolidated master out of this. But realistically, I have noise gate on every channel. So when you guys call in from fan base, for example, right? I put a noise gate on you too, because I don't want your background noise on my signal. Like, it sounds crazy when you guys call up and you're in the car and you're like, oh, I'm doing blah, 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 and I'm hearing all your background noise. I'm like, okay, no. Or if I just want to be able to like turn you down quickly, right? I'm just like, no, I'll turn you down really quickly. Having that separation and having it tactile is very important. So this is a mixer that I'm using now, this Rodecaster Pro 2. And it's very important because this also allows me to connect to my main computer for the live streams, but also I'm able to connect to my phone if I want to do content creation on my phone. Like if I want to upload some content where I'm making a beat or something and I want to show that with the full audio, I'll use the Rodecaster. So the Rodecaster essentially has two audio interfaces built into it, plus all the effects. And the other great thing is these are channel strips, and the mixer states are configurable, but they can also be saved and recalled. So the recall aspect of this is actually a game changer for me. So this is a example of where I still find a use for a mixer in a modern music production studio. This is where I would use it. The other place that I find a mixer to be very useful is still for sound design, for signal processing. For signal processing, you still may want to consider some type of analog mixer. And realistically, for signal processing, I would realistically say you want to have something a little bit more high end. For for the purpose of sound design, sound processing, really, when we say sound design, we're trying to enhance sounds, create sound, develop sounds that can be useful in different contexts by a user or some other application that may need specific sound. So when I say sound design, I'm talking high quality. I'm not just talking raggedy sounds that just sound different. So, for sound design purposes, you don't want something cheap as your processor. You want something that has a high quality sound, that has control, that has depth, that has warmth, that has all the character that you're trying to really impart on the signal. You're not just looking for multi track output or anything like that at that point. You're really looking for something that has some really unique character, but is controlled and refined in a way that really reflects what you're going for. You don't want a lot of noise just for the sake of noise. You want to have control over the sound. So in that case, you'll want to have something that is high quality. And there are a few options out there. If we're talking about sound design and sound design, or if you're talking about recording and mixing, these are some cases where you would want to have something a little bit better. So here's some examples. I would say you should expect to pay about $500 to $600 per channel for quality, for quality sound. This whole $20 per channel, $25 per channel, you're fooling yourself, because we love talking about the Neve 1073 and all that stuff. You're talking about $1,000 per channel for a Neve 1073. So let's not all of a sudden get delusional and think that with a console, you can spend $20, $50 even per channel and get a great result. Because realistically, a rack mount channel strip is essentially just a channel or a module from an actual console that has been modified into 19-inch rack form or 500 series. That's what it is. It's just one of the channels from a console. So if you want a recording console, you should expect to pay the same amount of money per channel. And I'm being pretty conservative here, or pretty generous here actually, by saying 500. You can pay more than 500 for sure per channel, but I would say about 500 to 600 per channel would be reasonable. So this is an example: Trident 68, 16 channel 8 bus. This could be something that you can aspire to have. I know everybody can't afford $10,000 for a console. Please believe I understand that. And some of you don't have room for something like this. I get it. But we are talking about, I'm talking to you as a professional that has done a number of sample libraries that many of you use, by the way, has recorded in a lot of high-end studios. I'm not going to recommend something that's cheap or just trash just for the sake of appeasing you. Trident 68, this will be a good option for sound processing, signal processing. Another one that you can consider, a little bit more expensive, API the box. This one is modular. You have a lot of options on what goes into different modules, but this one is a great option for imparting a refined sound on your signal. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive, $16K. but it has 8 channel and 8 inputs, and it has 8 500 series slots. So you can add things that you want to really customize the signal flow and create your own channel strips essentially, which is amazing. And API is, very, very much favored for drums, especially. There's a lot of mix engineers, record engineers that like it for processing and recording drums. Another option, this one too. I know a lot of you guys love Audient. You love Audient audio interfaces, but this the real deal here. This is one of their lower end ones still, but this the real deal. This ain't the audio interface. This the ASP 4816. And this will be another one that you can consider for sound design, sound processing. If you need to have a mixer with 16 channels. Some of you guys don't need a mixer at all. I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of you guys will be just fine processing stereo pairs and just have a stereo processing unit, or a series of stereo processing units, and you spend way less than this. But the reality is the mixer is designed to also handle the amount of inputs you need. So this is a 16 channel 48 input console. So it's about inputs. That's one of the main reasons that you get a mixer, is to handle inputs. Now, I do not recommend for most of you guys that you get a mixer for your main audio interface. I just do not. I think as far as your main recording is concerned, you want something that has a high quality and has expandability as well. So your top of the line audio interfaces, the ones that have ADAT, AES, MADI, SPDIF, the ones that have expansion options will be much better ultimately than buying a mixer, because you can buy something like, shout out to RME, of course. We talk RME all the time. You can buy something like the UCX, or you can buy something like the Fireface or something like that, and greatly expand the amount of channels you have by adding things like the Octamic 2 and whatnot to your setup, and get the amount of channels that you need. That's going to be much more flexible, higher quality. Something like an Octamic is going to have way better signal to noise ratio. The preamps are going to be higher quality. Your recordings are going to sound a lot better, a lot more punchy. A high quality audio interface is always going to be where you want to start with your front end of your recording chain. Do not go for a USB mixer if you can avoid it. And of course, as we mentioned earlier in the show, if you are interested in RME audio interfaces, of course, we have a community discount here, 15% off of RME on the RME website, actually. So if you are interested in any of their preamps like the Octamic, or if you're interested in the Fireface or the UCX2, you can get that for 15% off by just using our coupon code Altruwest on their website. Upbeat Media will provide you with a link to and the information regarding the RME discount for the community. Just use the coupon code Altruwest for that. But if you are trying to capture multi-track audio, you should definitely have an audio interface as the main option. Use the mixer for special circumstances, such as things like content creation, live streaming, where you very much need tactile. And also for sound design. Sound design is a great use case, but you should be aware that you cannot fool yourself into believing that you are going to get high quality from a cheap mixer. it is just simple math in the end. And let's not play this game where all of a sudden we lower the standard because a certain name is attached to it, like a SSL or something like that. The cost per channel strip is pretty standard for the most part. The components cost what they cost. Another reason I don't really recommend the lower end mixers, though, and a lot of people don't talk about it, but the reality is with the lower end mixers, what tends to happen is everything is pretty much consolidated into a single device and there's no modularity. When we look at a real console, one of the features of the console is that each of the channels typically can be repaired individually. You can remove one of the channels out if something goes wrong with the IO or the EQ. You can remove that channel out. You can clean it. You can solder it, repair it, do what you need to do, and insert that back into the mixer. But with these cheap all-in-one mixers, you don't have that type of modularity. You can't, if one of the channels goes out or something, you can't just remove that channel and repair it and put it back in. Oftentimes, you have to just get another mixer. I love to say, buy once, cry once. But the reality is, with these cheap mixers, you tend to buy a lot of times. You tend to buy a whole lot of times. You run out of channels. It's not upgradable as far as IO. You might be able to link them if you want to get, really technical with it. You might be able to link them if you get the right mixer. But the reality is, you'll end up buying another one. And as you are critical of your sound, you'll once you compare your sound to other sound capture and sound processing devices, you have a cheap one, you might start to realize some things about some of these multi-track USB mixers, especially if you're using the preamps and the EQs. Cheap preamps and cheap EQs are harsh. They don't impart a pleasing sound, and the cumulative effect of harsh components will result in a harsh, tinny mix. And I know that's not what you guys are going for. You guys are not going for that. You guys are going for real sound quality. You guys want things that also you can have for years. So realistically, I know the pressure and the temptation is there to buy something that is a multi-track unit that's cheap, but I highly recommend against it if it's going to be your main front end for recording. That's just my thoughts on that. I am of the mindset now that mixers will always have relevance. And as I mentioned to you, I'm using the Rodecaster 2 right now. This is what you're hearing me on, and it is an amazing device. And I do recommend, if you guys are looking to do social content or anything like that, you may want to consider that. And if you're interested, check the link in my description. I do have some links there, affiliate links. If you want to support the channel, buy through my affiliate link. If you're looking to get that type of mixer, I don't have an affiliate link for the Trident. If you got that kind of bread, go ahead and wild out and get it. It's not about the affiliate. I'm just trying to let you know that if you are looking to buy things for your setup for the sake of sound quality, you cannot play yourself, and you cannot lower the standard just because you're not ready to actually spend the big boy money on what you know is right. Okay, so that's my spiel for today. Let me go to the comments. We'll go to the comments for a little bit, but My goal here now with this this stream is to keep this an hour, and then we will head over to the after show at 6. So I will no longer be doing a lot of shooting the breeze here. We will keep these concise so that the people that watch on the VOD can get a good value out of it. So if you haven't already done so, make sure that you have the Twitch app. First of all, get Twitch on your phone. Like, don't be an old head, please. Don't be an old head. Get Twitch so we can really have some fun and get it cracking over at the after show. At the after show, this is where we get the conversation going on and take it to a different level. So I'm ready for that as well. I'm looking forward to hanging out with y'all on the after show. And that's where I will be doing a lot more of the community engagement. But I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all as always. Like I said, I'm going to I'm gonna go to the comments for a little bit and see what y'all on. But get ready for the after show. The after show is at 6 p.m. Central Time. So we're gonna take an hour intermission. Make sure you go get your food, get your drinks, whatever you need to get to chill out, and we're gonna hang out, man. We're gonna have a real good time. We're gonna have a real good time. Let's see here. Shamir Shine, what's good with you? He said down with the Tascam Model 12, 1624. Bled been there, did that. Yeah, it's not analog, buddy. It's not. It's not. It's this, you know, it's a hybrid, but it's not something I would recommend for your front end. I think, like I said, if you're gonna use it for content creation, it could be good. And at that point, you may not need 16, 24 channels. But I don't recommend, like, unless mixers today have a very live application. I think there's a lot of mixers that have value in a live scenario, like the Behringers, for example, like the big boy Behringers, right? The bigger, we used to use Behringer at the church I was going to for quite some time. And Behringer mixers for live are fine, but I don't think you want that as your main front end for your mix, and you definitely don't want to mix down on that. So buy wisely when you're talking about mixers, and buy it for the right reason. Don't cheap yourself out. Don't cheap your sound out by getting something inferior just because it's a easy way to handle your signal. But yeah, the X32, that's what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That X32, that's the big boy one. That one's okay for live. Use it for live. Mixers are great for live. But yeah, we're gonna wrap up, y'all. I appreciate y'all as always. We're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna head over to Twitch for the after show, man. So y'all get ready. I appreciate all y'all that have joined. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. Shout out to my members, my True Sound Creators, my True Sound Creator Plus, and my Studio Guest Pass 4K members. We got some new content dropping tomorrow, so look out for that. And for the rest of y'all, we got some more content coming on Saturday as well. So be on the lookout for that. We're gonna head over to the after show on Twitch. Get Twitch now, follow me on Twitch, and we're gonna get it cracking at 6 p.m., man. Much respect, much love to the community. I just wanna tell y'all, until next time, peace and God bless.